Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Just Another Talk. And on this episode, we're going to be talking about the port strike and how it can affect you and some details that I found that I don't think everybody's really talking about. First and foremost, let's start off with what we know.
Let me explain something to you. These people today don't know what a strike is.
Right.
When my men hit the streets, from Maine to Texas, every single port will lock down. You know what's gonna happen? I'll tell you. First week, be all over the news every night, boom, boom. Second week, guys who sell cars can't sell cars because the cars ain't coming in off the ships. They get laid off. Third week, malls start closing down. They can't get the goods from China. They can't sell clothes. They can't do this. Everything in the United States comes on a ship. They go out of business. Construction workers get laid off because the materials aren't coming in. The steel's not coming in. The lumber's not coming in. They lose their job. Everybody's hating the longshoremen now because now they realize how important our jobs are. Now I have the president screaming at me, I'm putting a Taft-Hartley on you. Go ahead. Taft-Hartley means I have to go back to work for 90 days. That's a cooling off period. Do you think when I go back for 90 days, those men are gonna go to work on that pier? It's gonna cost the company's money to pay their salaries. Well, they went from 30 moves an hour maybe to 8. They're gonna be like this. Who's gonna win here in the long run? You're better off sitting down and let's get a contract and let's move on with this world. And in today's world, I'll cripple you. I will cripple you, and you have no idea what that means. Nobody does.
So that's the president of the ILA. And the ILA is an International Longshoremen Association. And first things first, he looked like he has some Cartiers on. He has a gold chain on, a bunch of gold rings, and I'm pretty sure he just threatened the president of the United States. Regardless of what you think of Biden, whether you like him or not, Mr. Harold Daggett over here, he got some balls. Not only that, but he's also a baby boomer. Not only do I believe him, I'm willing to bet that he's gonna follow through. Now, obviously, most people already know the strikes happened, and there's been speculation of what can happen, what can't happen, what will or won't happen. I think we should take notice of some of the things he said. First, he talks about how car dealerships won't be able to get cars. So, when items are scarce, what happens? Inflation, right? Things go up for what they do have. Then he talks about construction workers and being able to get supplies to build homes, which is another important part of the economy. He's right. You're gonna have these ships that are waiting to dock, as well as the ones that are already docked that have to be unloaded, and they can't be unloaded. Part of the other issue with this is 40% of our commerce comes through ships, as well as I believe it's as high as 20% is perishable items, so foods. CNBC put out a graph that shows the top companies that are affected. Just to name a few, it's Walmart, IKEA, Samsung, Bob's Furniture, LG, Home Depot. These are some pretty big companies. And I know Dollar General is also on that list as well. If you think about it, there's a Dollar General in pretty much every state. And most of those companies that are on this list right here are in every state, and they're going to be experiencing shortages pretty quickly. Harold also points out to the Taft-Hartley Act, which is an act that was passed so that way when we have unions who have such large employee bases, they can't stranglehold the economy. In an article that I read, ironically from CNN, it says Joe Biden was not going to invoke the Taft-Hartley Act, and that he was urging both sides, companies and union workers to come to an agreement. And I think that's curious. Why is the administration not jumping right in and fixing this, especially with the fact that we could be experiencing ridiculous, next level kind of worse than the pandemic shortages? I dug deeper into the issue. I realized that the unions are striking because the employers, the companies, these large-scale companies who use the shipping ports, they have a contract that they're supposed to renew every 6 years. Part of the union workers' demands is they want a raise of about 77%. So from, I believe it's $81,000 all the way up to $143,000, while also at the same time, they're trying to permanently ban automation on the ports. I also found other articles as well as other videos that I saw on social media from port workers stating that in Alabama, they had found companies who had already integrated automation into their system.
Have a fair negotiations. It's the companies that don't want to. They don't want to sit here and be fair. So that's why we're out here fighting for our livelihood.
What more from the automation do you want? What more protections could there be?
What more?
Yeah, they have language in there now.
Not strong enough, because what happens is they come in with new technology. We just caught them in Mobile, Alabama, called Autogate, and that means the trucks are coming in and they're already checked in somewhere else and not using the checkers in the ILA. Circumventing the contract. They don't care. They don't care. It's not fair. And if we don't put our foot down now, they would like to run over us, and we're not going to allow that.
You are going to grind the economy to a halt here on the East Coast and the Gulf Coast.
No, not us. They are. Don't spin it now, because you're Fox News. They're going to drive it.
But are you worried?
They're going to drive it.
Are you worried that this
They
strike?
have the capital to settle this thing.
Are you worried that this strike is going to hurt the everyday American, the farmers that need to reach the export market? They're
Listen,
telling me that they're going to hurt through
Now
all
you
of this.
start to realize who the longshoremen are, right?
Now, there's a little bit of a deeper rabbit hole that I did find that honestly, I'm not really a conspiracy theorist, so it's not that I say I believe it, but I'm also not going to say I don't believe it. There are reports where parts of the people who are striking are saying that they're hearing children's voices in the containers, and that's one of the other reasons they're striking. I haven't seen anything as far as newsworthy, but that's some of the comments that came about. The ILA has 85,000 members, and as of right now, I believe it's 45,000 members who are on strike, which is basically about half of them on strike. Now, the other portion of the video that we played at the beginning, where he says, you can enact the tariff hardly, we'll go back to work. We were moving 30 containers off the ship and into the port, and from the port onto the ship, before, but now we're only going to move 8. So that's going to stranglehold the companies who are still going to have to pay everybody the same amount of wages for a third, basically, of the production. That alone should alarm you. That alone should be like, okay, hold on a second. What is my government, more specifically, what is the federal government doing to resolve this issue? Why did this issue even come about? And how come we're really only hearing about it now? I genuinely think that the Biden administration doesn't want to touch this, because obviously the vice president is running for office. Not to mention that this would be a field day if they enacted tariff hardly, because again, part of what Harold said, but also the fact that all these union workers would probably vote Republican this year. It's really an interesting time. We have like 35, 40 days till election. So who knows what happens. I would definitely say it doesn't hurt to be prepared and understand where to go and what you need to do. The last component that I'm going to talk about, and I do plan on making a separate video about this, is Hurricane Helene, which is increasingly growing each day as far as the devastation that left in its track. And I believe there at some point in time that the last report I read was 100 total dead and hundreds of millions, if not billions, in destruction, which compounds the situation, because if all of these ports all the way from Maine to Texas are not receiving shipments, how does that affect the people that need to rebuild? How does that affect the commerce and the ability to source items and to keep yourself safe? I've already seen videos where there aren't any government officials in certain Georgia areas where Helene hit. I don't know how accurate that is. I will be looking into that. If the devastation is as bad as I can see on social media and what people are posting, it's only going to get worse. And we're heading into a period of time of, you have the election, you have a lot of instability in the country. Who knows what can happen? It sounds like a powder keg. We want to know what you think. Drop a comment. Let us know. What do you think is going to happen next? Do you think they're going to get a deal done before we have serious interruptions in the supply chain? Do you think this is going to go downhill? Let us know in the comments. Make sure you like, subscribe, and go to the merch store. Go ahead and get yourself something from the merch store.